can go ahead if you.
No, I remember that the lady came in and I think she had like 2 gold teeth, and the saleswoman was like, Estee, like, don't bother with that person. They're not here.
Don't do that one.
Yeah, don't waste your time there.
Yeah.
Like, we should be focusing on people that are actually going to buy our products. Plus, you can't even speak her language. Like, what are you doing? And Estee was like, you have no idea what's in her pocketbook.
Yeah.
How dare you sit here and tell me how much money she's worth?
Yeah.
And so Estee went over, did her thing, worked her magic, was like, here, try these creams, try this, try that. And within a couple minutes, the lady started buying.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where it's like...
And not only that, she brought people back the next day or the next week. So she referred customers. And so it's like,
huge.
This is a pipeline right now.
Yes.
And ended up being a devout customer for decades.
Then that customer used to write her letters
Yeah.
later in life, going, just expressing her gratitude because nobody else had looked at her like that. And Estee had that conviction of anybody can be beautiful. Oh, we are back at it, but you are not here.
I am not here. All right, okay. All right, we are back at it.
We are back at it. Another week.
Yes.
Founders Drive.
Founders Drive, where we explore the lives of different founders and talk about how we can apply that to what we're doing on our founders journey, but we also try to present it in a way where, for those that are watching and listening, you can take some lessons away and apply it to your lives. Or you could just listen and enjoy it and kick it with us while we ride around these
you're gonna learn something either way.
These humble streets of Michigan.
Yeah, you're gonna learn something either way.
Yeah, man. So before we get into it, Constance updates.
Yeah, so this week we just some more bug fixes, some more streamlines. We talked about this like a week or two ago, but it follows in kind where we removed some of the friction for checking out. We removed some of the friction to be a creator. We are beefing up our workspace and the way that works, and so yeah, it's just like making the platform better at least 1% every single week.
Yes. So check out Constance, especially if you are looking for different ways of exploring your creativity, exploring entrepreneurship. In short, Constance is a platform that helps you organize and monetize your creativity. Just based off a lot of the numbers that we're looking for, a lot of traditional ways of providing for yourself, of earning a living are changing.
Yeah.
It was a more industrialized
economy
before, where you would go and get a job and work for an employer and maybe be able to do that for your whole life. I think that those opportunities will still be there, just like there are still agricultural opportunities in an industrialized world. But I think that they'll be fewer and far between. I think we're moving into an entrepreneurial world where people leverage their God-given abilities, their interests, their passions, their talents to provide unique value to people that are looking for what they have. And I think that being able to organize your thoughts, being able to then monetize your thoughts is the way that more and more people will continue to act moving forward. So check it out. Check out Constance. That's the mission, and we're continuing to evolve it. We operate off of feedback. So let us know what you think, and we will continue to provide the best service that we can.
Absolutely. So this week, who we take a look at?
We are looking at the Miss Estée Lauder, the elegant Estée Lauder. Yes.
Which I guess hopefully people know that is a person, and not just a
beauty company. And we have a largely male audience, so
exactly.
I'm sure that there's a lot of people that don't know that even as a beauty company.
Right.
But Estée Lauder was a formidable founder. She was born in 1908 in Queens, New York, and she took a liking to beauty really early on.
Yes.
But she eventually went on to make that her life's work, her life's calling. It was her passion
and her legacy,
and she was able to profit off of that. But yeah, it was also her legacy. It was also how she spent her time in her life.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't we do like a quick overview of her early beginnings, and then we go from there.
From what I know, she had an uncle move in with the family at a very young age. She was born in the early 1900s, and in the early 1900s it was World War I. after World War One, their uncle had moved into the house, and he actually started cooking up beauty products on their stove in the kitchen, and she would just have full access to not only like his mind and like what he was going through trying to make these beauty creams, but then also like hands-on experience with actually making them herself.
Yeah, yeah, and she learned a lot, not only practically, but just in terms of quality, in terms of standards, in terms of doing things the right way. She took a liking to beauty very, very early on, especially skincare with her uncle. But even then, she always had an eye for the elegant and always focused on that. That was something that she was really passionate about. When she was making creams with her uncle's all-purpose cream, she started in her entrepreneurship journey early on. I know it was formally when she was a little bit older, in the what was it, the 1940s, with her.
Oh yeah, but she was trying to sell these creams at school. Yeah, it's like everywhere.
So she said like everybody, her friends had a version of her cream early on. I think I might be like able to pull up some quotes here from the notes right here, but just to kind of paint a picture, because I also think she was a really good writer.
Yeah.
And I think that she was really good at articulating how much she cared about what she was doing. So I'm actually going to throw a couple things out here, throw it into the ether, and then we can kind of keep it cooking. But so she said, I want to paint a picture of the young girl I was, a girl caught up, mesmerized by pretty things and pretty people. Thinking about my childhood and now reveals such early patterns. My drive and persistence were always there, and those qualities that are essential for building a successful business. Still, I sometimes wonder if I set my heart on selling tassels, cars, furniture, or anything else but beauty, would I have risen to the top of my profession? Somehow I doubt it. I believed in my product. I loved my product. I love to touch the creams, smell them, look at them, carry them with me. A person has to love her harvest if she's to expect others to love it. And beauty was such a bountiful harvest. So that was her frame of mind in the beginnings. That was around when she was 12, that excerpt it came from, when she was reflecting back and looking on that.
Yeah, she kind of like I wouldn't say fell into it, but like she was able to find something that she was passionate about, and then build it for herself first.
Yeah, and she was also very, she admired her mom. I think that her mom was the first beauty in her eyes, and that's who she points out as being like, that's the first person I believe to be beautiful. And just to kind of put a little note in here, when she's talking about beauty, she's talking about the uniqueness of a woman, and she's talking about how they went on to create male lines and stuff down the road, but she's talking about like what makes a woman unique. She talks about the effort that you put in to make yourself up, and she's very adamant and convicted in the sense that she's like, if you either put effort into being the best version of yourself or you're not, and when you do that, that's what makes you beautiful, not your physical gifts alone. And there's anecdotes where she talks about how some people have been given natural features, but they don't highlight them or accentuate them, and that leaves a lack of glow in someone who would otherwise be beautiful. The reason why I highlight that, though, before getting back into her early beginnings and what kind of set up her drive, is she, like, when I think about features and not highlighting them, I think about products, and I think about our products and how important it is to highlight those things. I think that's also what she did with her products. She always talked about her things in a glowing light, and that, I think, resonates with people. We feel when people are trying to display something that they care about.
I also think she was really convicted in the fact that anyone can be beautiful. It just takes 3 minutes. Anyone can do this. And so that's another thing where it's like, it's not unobtainable. You know, everyone can do this, especially with my products. Everyone can be beautiful. And that's super important,
especially with my products.
Yeah, exactly.
So another anecdote that speaks to her early beginnings is, my shining moment came in the form of a quiet, bespectacled man who also loved touching faces. My uncle John Schatz, charming, erudite, inquiring. My mother's brother came to visit us from Hungary. He was a skin specialist, what glories those words conjured up. He captured my imagination and interest as no one else had. I was smitten with Uncle John. He understood me. What's more, he produced miracles. I watched as he created a secret formula, a magic cream potion, with which he filled vials and jars and flagons and other handy containers. It was a precious velvety cream, this potion, one that magically made you sweetly scented, made your face feel like spun milk, made any passing imperfection be gone by evening. Maybe I'm glorifying my memories, but I believe today that I recognized in my Uncle John my true path. I watched and learned, hypnotized. He mixed and stirred, as passionate as any alchemist, until the ingredients were transformed into cream, snow cream. And then he goes, this is a story of a bewitchment. I was irrevocably bewitched by the power to create beauty. Uncle John had worlds to teach me. We constructed a laboratory of sorts in the tiny stable behind the house. My parents installed gleaming linoleum on the floors and walls. We set up a table where I watched my uncle mix his magic. Do you know what this means for a young girl to suddenly have someone take her dreams quite seriously, teach her secrets? I could think of nothing else. And then she says, after school, I'd run home to practice being a scientist. I began to value myself so much more, trust my instincts, trust my uniqueness. With my uncle, I was preoccupied with research into possibilities, mine. Trusting oneself does not always come naturally. If I learned when young, the practice sticks. Today, there's no one who can intimidate me because of title or skill or fame. I do what's right for me.
I like that, the ending part of that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I also think everybody has at least one moment at an early childhood where they kind of discover that passion. And I think her being able to double down on it and give him the room to explore that stuff is super critical to then, evolving it beyond just like, that was fun to do for an afternoon.
Yeah.
Do
you recall that moment for you? Or one of those moments for you where you're like, okay, this is where I want to go, or this is where I want to take my life, or this is my passion?
No, I don't know if it was a specific moment. I guess it was a specific moment, actually, because now that I'm thinking about it, I do remember very early on, I don't remember what age I was, though, but I remember going to, like, a local car meet with my parents and just walking around looking at all the old classic cars and some of the new ones. I think at the time they had, like, I think it was like the '08 Lamborghinis out, like old school at this point. But at that time, it was like, that's like a supercar. The first supercar I've ever seen. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can remember the feeling of like, I want to have that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it was. I want to drive it.
I want to feel that. I want to drive that. That's powerful, man.
What about you?
There's a couple moments now that I'm thinking about it. One I would say is I have a distinct memory of my dad having a magazine, a business magazine, with Bill Gates on the cover. I was maybe like 8 to 10, around that age range. And I remember saying, asked my dad who that was. And he said, it's Bill Gates, he's a businessman. And I was like, oh, as an 8-year-old kid, I was like, oh shit, Dad. And I remember thinking, I want to be like that. I want to be a businessman. I didn't know what that meant. And I know that a lot of people who don't like Bill Gates are probably like, damn, okay. But there was, in all honesty, there was something that was inspiring about that, seeing somebody on a magazine being lauded for doing business, whatever that was.
Yeah, your dad was probably like looking up to him at the time. You're like, oh, I would love to.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like doing well there. It was technology. I didn't really understand a lot of the stuff, but that was my first hint of like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then throughout the years, there was moments where my interest in business was encouraged or highlighted. It wasn't something where it was just always consistent, but there are moments and flashes that I think have kind of continued the ball rolling, And so yeah, man, that's the origin stories, man, and that first spark of like, I like this thing. I like this thing. And that's just specifically in the business context. But I would say another time came in college when I started working as an intern at a startup. That was another one where I was like, okay. And I was a little bit obviously older and more in the mindset of what I could actually do for a living because I was in college. And I was like my mentor at the time, my boss at the time, basically just really opened up and taught me a lot of things that I still hold in my mind today as I approach different things.
But to be honest, like your origin story can start at any age.
Oh yeah.
You know, your interest can be piqued at any age. And so it just happens to be that, you know, with Estée, it happened at 12
Yeah.
when she was able to then carry it throughout her entire life.
Well, and we talked about this before, but she didn't start the Estée Lauder Cosmetics
Until way later.
exactly until she was 38.
Right.
And so she was active the whole time, essentially doing her reps, gaining her insights and her knowledge. But how that stuff comes out later, you never really know when. And sometimes it's a lot easier to connect the dots when you look back than it is,
Of course.
when you're in the moment or looking forward.
In the moment's even harder. Yeah.
Right. And so that was and she actually talks about that in her book. She says she was like, you never really know when you're making a memory.
Yes.
It's always like when you're looking back.
You never know when
realize
you're
that.
in the good old days.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So one of the anecdotes that I thought was really interesting early on was well, actually, let me say this real quick based off of the Uncle John story. She goes, if I was to be a scientist with Uncle John, I needed live subjects on whom to experiment. I didn't have a single friend who wasn't slathered in our creams. If someone had a slight redness under her nose, that was sure to emerge into a sensitive blemish the next day. She'd come to visit. I'd treat her to a cream pack, voila. Vastly improved skin the next day. Friends of friends of friends appeared. I devised the name for my uncle's cream. Super rich all-purpose cream. My reputation among my peers at Newton High School grew by leaps and bounds. I gave away gallons of cream to friends. So she was, again, entrepreneurial. Maybe not in the formal sense, but she was active. She was doing things, which when you translate entrepreneur, it just means that like somebody who does things.
Right.
Like, and really the best way to prevent risk is to do things that prevent risk.
Right.
So it's actually a really simple but broad, I guess. Yeah. So she was very entrepreneurial early on. She just didn't turn it into a formal business.
Right.
Until much later. Then it goes. So there's an anecdote, and this is what her autobiography opens up with. But it shows like she's you know, had this mind for success. Like, she wants to be successful. She makes no bones about it. She's a person that, as I was reading along early on, she was very confident, but she was also about the hard work.
Yeah.
So the book opens up, and this is more to highlight her well, I guess I'll just say the anecdote, and I think you'll be able to derive a conclusion. It goes, I remember the woman at Florence Morris beauty salon where I had my first cosmetics concession. She was thoughtless and cruel and will always remain that way in my mind. Maybe she was a catalyst for good in the end. Maybe I wouldn't have become Estée Lauder if it hadn't been for her. At the moment, she was cast in my memory to last there forever. I despised her. Simply thinking about that incident brings back a twinge of pain. She was having her hair combed and she was lovely. I was very young and vulnerable, and I loved beauty. I felt I wanted to make contact with her in some small way. What a beautiful blouse you're wearing, I complimented her. It was just so elegant. Do you mind if I ask where you bought it?
And then?
She smiled. What difference could that possibly make? She answered, looking straight into my eyes. You could never afford it. I walked away, heart pounding, face burning. Never, never, never will anyone say that to me ever again, I promised myself. Someday I will have whatever I want. Jewels, exquisite art, gracious homes, everything. And that was just how she opened it up. It kind of shows a lot and reveals a lot about her mentality, is that she always bet on herself, and she had her confidence instilled at an early age by her mother. She said her mother told her at an early age, "You're as beautiful as you think you are." She walked, or the quote goes, "You're as beautiful as you think you are," she'd tell me. She walked tall when she entered a room and held her head triumphantly. "The secret," she'd whisper, "is to imagine yourself the most important person in that room, the person everyone else is waiting to see. If you imagine it vividly enough, you will become that person."
Yeah. I like that. I also like how she was kind of like slapped in the face a little bit.
Yeah.
With
early.
like the, hey, like you can't afford this. You're poor.
Straight up.
That's wild.
And it's a motivator. And I don't think all motivating experiences are always positive. A lot of times
True.
they're negative. More times they're negative. We don't always talk about it, but they do play a real role.
I mean, even in the moment, she said she walked away with her face red.
Yeah.
Like she was embarrassed in the moment, but obviously looking back at it, she was like, oh, maybe that was what started this entire fire.
Yeah.
To make sure that no one's ever going to say that ever again to me.
Mm-hmm. She said heart pounding. She was
Yeah.
upset. And so this is all like early beginnings. That happened when she first had a stand at one of these salons that she was working with.
First couple stands, yeah.
Yeah, where she would go and sell her creams, often at hair salons. And in between people waiting for their hair appointment, she would often go up and do a demo. She was very, very big on demos. And she always talked about how she loved to touch faces. Another story from her early childhood is she would talk about how she couldn't wait to come home and just brush her mom's hair.
Yeah.
And she would love to touch their faces, and she was just obsessed with the female face, I would say.
I'm glad that she went into beauty cosmetics instead of being like a serial killer or something like that.
I love faces.
Jeffrey Dahmer type, where it's like, I need your skin.
Yeah, there's similar obsessions that have led to different career paths. But no, she was very much about that. Her dad would always be like, Estée, why are you always touching these faces? She was like, Dad, I have to touch the faces. You're not understanding that this is what I like to do. I like to touch faces. And then Uncle John came along, and Uncle John was like, Estée, I like to touch faces.
My job is to touch
faces. She was like, oh my God, this is crazy. She was like, so you can teach me how to touch faces? She was like, Estée, I got you. I got you. So yeah, man, it's early on. It like she was very, very, very into it. And then that grew into her business, and let's go remember right there. If I was a scientist, yeah. And then that led to a couple more like famous stories about how they got their first breakthrough at Saks Fifth, which Saks Fifth Avenue in New York, which was a huge breakthrough, and it got them associated with like the brands that they wanted, and they quickly went all in. They got an $800 purchase order, which was way more back then. Yep. And from there they were like, okay, let's go all in. And then she used that as a way to go and re-engage her other customers, but it was all built on this idea of Telewoman. That was really her secret. And there's an interesting little anecdote here where she was talking about how it's hard to build businesses, and it's like it takes a lot of work, and a lot of people discourage them early on. But what she was saying is like, I have my secret, which is ultimately the Telewoman campaign, and that's really what launched them. Telegram, telephone, Telewoman. Telegram, Telewoman. Yep. And let me see if I can find that note that I have right there. No.
I think from the Saks Fifth Avenue kind of introduction, I don't think it went as smoothly as it could have the very first time they went through. I think they were very hesitant to give her any good counter space. And she had to consistently go back and be like, listen, I need to see, like, where's your best counter space at? Why can't I have space over here? Yeah. You know, and just really nagging the store owners to give her what she thought her product deserved.
Yeah, she was very involved with all of the stores, openings, and all of the displays to maintain that level of quality. She also talked about how she like trained a lot of the early saleswomen and to make sure that they were communicating in a way that engaged the people appropriately.
And there's a cool story around that where one of her salespeople, I believe this was right after they had launched one of these boutiques, a lady came in. I don't think she spoke any English.
Yeah,
you know this one.
Yeah, she spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
The short of it, you can go ahead if you.
No, I remember that the lady came in and I think she had like 2 gold teeth, and the saleswoman was like, Estée, like, don't bother with that person. They're not here.
Don't do that one.
Yeah, don't waste your time there.
Yeah.
Like, we should be focusing on people that are actually going to buy our products. Plus, you can't even speak her language. Like, what are you doing? And Estée was like, you have no idea what's in her pocketbook.
Yeah.
How dare you sit here and tell me how much money she's worth?
Yeah.
And so Estee went over, did her thing, worked her magic, was like, here, try these creams, try this, try that. And within a couple minutes, the lady started buying.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where it's like...
And not only that, she brought people back the next day or the next week. So she referred customers, and so it's like
huge.
This is a pipeline right now,
yes.
and ended up being a devout customer for decades.
Then that customer used to write her letters
Yeah.
later in life, going, just expressing her gratitude because nobody else had looked at her like that, and Estee had that conviction of anybody can be beautiful.
Yeah, and we all know, like, going back to that story where she was talking about how this person was like, you can't afford this.
Yes.
It's like when you know what it's like to feel overlooked, you don't like creating that feeling in other people.
You're sensitive to that. Yep.
And there's a lot of power in that, because at the heart of it, it's like empathy, it's emotional intelligence. And you can't always sometimes you can. Like, there are situations, but you can't do it to a point where it makes justifiable sense to treat a customer like they don't have something based off their looks. That's just, like, stupid.
Yeah, it's also, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot trying to get any more deals done, because like we saw with this person, they are now a pipeline of brand new customers that you can then, use to make your business thriving. But if you shut that door, you'll never see that opportunity.
And so kind of shifting into this area where she is building her business, she said on the early days, she said, but nothing happens fast. Many stories have surrounded the growth of big business, certainly my big business, and most of them are myths. The most insidious myth of all is the one that promises magic formulas and instant success. It does not happen that way. I cried more than I ate. There was constant work, constant attention to detail, lost hours of sleep, worries, heartaches. Friends and family didn't let a day go by without discouraging us.
Yep.
Despite all the naysayers, there was never a single moment when I considered giving up. That was simply not a viable alternative. I had a secret weapon. There were in those days, before television and high gloss advertising, only two ways to communicate a message fast: telephone, telegraphs, and she had the third, which was Telewoman. And telegram. And then she had the third, which is Telewoman. And then she goes, women were telling women. They were selling my cream before they even got to my salon. Telewoman was the word of mouth campaign that launched Estee Lauder. And that's something that they, again, continue to use, is because she wasn't selling sex, she was selling elegance.
Beauty, yep.
And I think you have to approach things differently there. You can't just be one-off transactional. You have to create a nurturing environment, repeat sales. And so there has to be a level of quality, has to be a level of delivery that you cultivate to get people to want to come back, and then also tell another person.
Yeah, it's something that's super strong nowadays. You know if your product has that market fit if your users are telling other people about it.
Yeah.
If you're not the one that has to sit in front of new users and say, this is why you should care about this. If it's kind of like, I want to say organically happening.
Yeah.
That's how you know, okay, we're starting to get this product market fit and people are really liking what we have.
Word of mouth still dominates. It's like every mouth is a word of mouth machine. Every screen is a word of mouth machine. That's a microscript that Bill Schley, this copywriting author or copywriter, I should say, would say. And just a quick side note on that is, we think that because we're in the digital world, that word of mouth doesn't matter, but it actually matters even more. And we were in a world before where all it was word of mouth, and then we moved into mass media where we had one screen that a lot of people were watching, and now we're back into a more peer-to-peer landscape with the internet, where I can share something with you directly, you can share that with 3 or 4 other people, and we see that on social networks. When I share something with somebody in a DM, that's word of mouth. It's digital word of mouth, but it's word of mouth. And so thinking about it in that way changes the landscape a little bit. Another way to think about that is, and I think this is why Gary Vee focuses so much on organic social first, is because that's literally tracked word of mouth. After you have a word of mouth indicator, you can throw an accelerant on that by paid advertisements,
100%.
advertisements, but at the heart of it, it's what is driving this person to share whatever they learned or whatever they're experiencing with another person, because that will give you an indication of what's working and what's not.
Yeah, and you might find yourself sharing this podcast.
Yeah.
You might find yourself going to Constance and sharing that link out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the word of mouth is super powerful.
Yeah. So, there's...
And that's not like the only sales tactic she was using. She was using tons of sales tactics.
Yeah, man. Let's
the one other one that I know that she used was in a big box store, she accidentally spilled some of her
Neiman Marcus when she was trying to get into Neiman Marcus.
Yep, she accidentally spilled some of her fragrance on the floor, and what would happen is, as ladies would walk by, they would smell that and be like, oh, where can I get that?
Yeah.
Where is that at?
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, of course that was an accident, Estée, like, come on. But no, like, there's that sales, not gimmick, right, but like a tactic on how to really get your foot in the door, because a lot of these, just like a lot of things in life, kind of like, I wouldn't say a boys club in terms of beauty, but a boys club in terms of like, it's the network. They're only going to allow the people that are established in the industry to sell at the certain counters.
Yeah.
And when you're small and upcoming, you kind of have to break into that.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's because bigger brands just have a higher degree of trust in what they can deliver.
Yes.
And what customers expect. And so if you're a retailer, that's what you want to deliver, and you don't always want to take a new chance, especially back then
100%.
when there wasn't as much evidence for a newer product being able to resonate. I think now, again, things are a little bit more dispersed. The big box real estate retailer doesn't have as much authority and power.
Yeah.
But I think it still does hold true. Another thing that brought up to me was the whole Youth Do.
So Youth Do was like one of her most revolutionary products in terms of the amount of market she was able to capture with it.
Yeah.
And I believe it's still available today. Maybe it's not like the original
do you use it?
recipe. I don't personally use it, but my wife has a lot of Estée Lauder products. But yeah,
so you're like, let me look into this little Estée Lauder that I've been seeing about.
Yeah, it came up on Snapchat of all things. I was literally just on there for something completely unrelated to Estée Lauder commercials now.
Like, okay. But Youth Do, the story behind that is that perfume used to be sold as a luxury gift.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yes, that's important.
A luxury gift. And when women would use it, they would use it very sparingly. Behind the ears, a couple drops here and there, and that was it.
Not enough.
Not enough. With Youth Do, that changed the way that they sold the same product.
Right.
They sold it as something that you could add to your bath to basically have your whole body smelling good. And so and when it was presented that way, women would pour bottles of the same perfume into their bath to get that scent. And it did make women smell better. And there's several stories that she highlights of her driving and this all might just be sales testimonials, but like of her driving and a taxi driver saying, oh, are you wearing that Youth Do? Another lady had this, and then she would sell it this way and that way. But it was one of those things where you take the same product and you package it differently, and it creates a completely different way that people receive it.
Yeah, there's two things I wanted to add on to that. One being we can get into like the gift part of it in a little bit, but she was so obsessive with bringing these products to market that she would obsess over all of the small details on bringing something like Youth Do to, like, the market. And so she would go to all of her friends' houses, any house she was in, any restaurant she was in, get to the bathroom and try and compare the wallpaper with the color of the lotion and the jar that she had, just to make sure that no matter what wallpaper you had in any room, in any bathroom in the world, her product would actually look super appealing. And it came out that I think the Youth Do ended up being like a light baby blue.
Okay.
And it was just in a jar that made it look just like a luxury good in any bathroom. And so just being super obsessive about those details, going out and like actually doing that kind of like market research is something that you can't just forget about, right? Even if you are running a company, being able to get down in the weeds and get dirty with like what's actually moving the needle, I think is super important.
Mm-hmm. She has a natural ability to really take on her customers' experience.
Yeah.
All the way through, seeing it from the moment of purchase, even before then, all the way through to, okay, how am I going to use it? How am I going to look at it when it's in my room?
Yep.
And all of those things that matter. And I think, again, highlighting the attention to detail in that is super profound.
And the other sales tactic that I just wanted to cover is the fact that she's very well known for, in the beauty industry, doing the free gift with purchase.
Yeah.
And sometimes a free gift without a purchase.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that everyone does that nowadays. Every single buddy in the industry. And she really championed that. It was a way for her not only to do the demos that we were talking about, but also to kind of like attach herself to a customer before they were even a customer.
Yeah, she would always give away the free samples. She said, I might shave off a little bit of the lipstick and put it in an envelope where you can, like, and just say, tell the woman you can apply a little bit with your fingers.
Yeah.
She said that she would give, just samples, small samples. It doesn't have to be a full product. Right now, they're product samples that people give away.
Right.
Because I think the whole premise of giving something, a free gift, is so powerful that companies just allocate space for that.
Right.
But back then, it was like, hey, I'm hooking you up.
Exactly.
I'm looking out for it. And people remember that, and they can go back, look, especially in the beauty world, look at how they look with that in the comfort of their own home, get used to applying the product in the comfort of their own home.
Right.
And then be able to feel more familiar with the brand.
Yep.
And so that's really powerful. And it seems obvious now, but going back and looking at how people created these ingenious ways becomes a really, I think, good reference point for seeing how creativity is a really valuable asset when it comes to business.
It's only popular now because of these stories that we're telling.
Yeah.
So
no, we have a lot of things here. One of the things here is like that she talks about with sales, because that's a thing that we're talking about right now, is she says, I completed the makeup, then asked each woman to convince a customer. So she was talking about how she was teaching and recruiting more salespeople. It kind of goes to the Paul Graham idea.
Yeah.
Do things that don't scale.
100%.
And then once you find something that works, scale it. She talked about how oftentimes, like, she would just say that I can't do this all by myself, but I want to be involved with this stuff. So I have to go and find and train different saleswomen to be good representatives. And so this is her talking about that. She says, I completed the makeup, then asked each young woman to convince a customer who had just entered a salon to be made up. I watched. Some were self-conscious, others too aggressive. Only Miss, I think this is Sarah Roberts, was wonderful. She had verve. She had conviction. She did not say, may I help you, knowing full well the customer would not be in the store if she didn't require assistance. Instead, she said, I have something that would look perfect on you, madam. May I show you how to apply it? Miss Roberts it was. She was with me for years.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's that do things that don't scale mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Really getting on the ground in your business and figuring out what's working.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And so, I don't know, man. I think the beginnings of her career are very solid. This isn't going to be an exhaustive episode. Just
Right.
more something to kind of highlight, introduce her into the lexicon of the Founders Drive entrepreneurs.
That's right.
As always, a lot of these people continue to come back and continue to show themselves. How do you feel about transitioning over to the Super Secret Founders Drive, which is on Constance? You can find that on Constance.
Yeah.
But and then going into some of her lauderisms.
Yes.
She has 2 sections in her book, one on selling and then one on things I didn't learn from business school.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we can go into a couple of views of her sales, take our interpretations, and then again, just kind of go a little bit further into her as a character and as a successful businesswoman.
Absolutely. I have at least 2 different things I'm going to get into in that Super Secret episode around after you're in that industry, what happened towards the end of her reign at the company. Obviously, it's still a major part of the major part of the industry today, but there's a couple key things that happened later on in her life while she was running the company that were pivotal into helping her get to where the company is at now. So yeah, definitely check that out. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Constance.com/C/Founders Drive. Links in the description. But if you also just go to Constance and you log in and search for Founders Drive. Actually, you don't even have to log in.
That's right.
Open there. But log in, search Founders Drive. Then you'll also be able to find the super secret episodes along with other super secret episodes. So yeah, man.
Check it out.
Check us out, and
we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace out.